Thank you.
Our last part of the agenda is tackling measures to promote the welfare of the workers in the business process outsourcing industry. This is the second hearing on this. I'd like to recognize first one of the authors, the Honorable Yul Servo of the 3rd District of Manila, should he wish to manifest on his House Bill 4236.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. Magandang tanghali po sa ating lahat. Nais ko na po i-manifest your Mr. Chairman, na yung aking spiritual kasama ng nila Congressman Edward Maceda, Malapitan, Martinez, Congressman Valeriano, na maging yung sponsorship speech po namin yung explanatory. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Nieto. I'd like to call on the members of BN Philippines, Mr. Harmony Q, for his inputs on this bill.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon also to the members of this committee. In behalf of BPO Industry Employees Network, my name is Harmony Kui, PN National Auditor. So we have prepared a statement regarding the proposed bill measure that is pending in this committee, and I would like to read this one. This will not take too long to read. Thank you so much. First of all, we want to stress that we support policies and laws that will add genuine protection and guarantee of rights to BPO workers. We thank the committee for inviting us in this hearing, and we are very happy and grateful to all the proponents of the bills in this agenda. We BPO workers contribute a lot to Philippine economy, now placing second to OFW remittances in terms of revenue. We comprise a big part of the country's formal sector, more or less 1 million of about 20 million wage and salaried workers in the country. The common conception of BPO workers is we are highly paid, we drink Starbucks for coffee, we go to a nice office, and we have good health insurance, among others. In fact, in the last hearing, this was echoed by some members of our respectable congressmen. But while it may be true that many BPO workers get paid higher than the minimum wage, our lives are nowhere near affluent. Most of us still receive way below the country's cost of living, which is about 1,030 pesos a day. Employees of the biggest call centers employing tens of thousands of workers receive as low as 10,000 a month, even smaller outside the regions. Our right to security of tenure is under constant attack. Even for those who have spent years in a company, they can still experience floating while hiring, or can be forced to resign or terminated unjustly, sometimes even without due process. There are hazards and risks to health, safety, and well-being of BPO workers in the BPO industry because of work pressure, night work, intensified flexibilization, changing metrics, harassment and abuse from customers, and predisposition of the BPO companies to continue with their operations even in the midst of calamities. Some companies continue to practice sharing of headsets. In addition, many workers take on multiple tasks without additional pay. There's still yet to be union in the BPO industry that has a collective bargaining agreement. We have been trying hard to organize workers, but there are many challenges to it. Some BPO companies actively discourage or prohibit workers from joining unions or organizations even at the onset of their employment. There is union discrimination and union busting, as we experienced in Alorica. And amid the absence of unions, the right to self-organization freedom of association, collective bargaining is not realized. There is limited venue for workers' voice to be heard, let alone recognized at various levels. Thus, we express our support the bills being deliberated today as they in essence aim to protect BPO workers' rights and welfare. We expressly support major provisions of the bills, and in particular, we support and suggest the following. The provisions on access to relevant information, to allow workers to have access to their rights, prevent companies from prohibiting workers from accessing materials and participating in workers that will raise their knowledge and awareness of their rights. Relevant information should also include information on client-vendor agreements that may affect working conditions, workers' welfare, and statutory rights of workers. Secondly, the provisions on overloading and understaffing of work. It is pretty common that BPO companies keep on upskilling their workers to become super agents. That is also taking toll on work stress and attainment of performance scores, which in the end threatens their tenure. Many companies also practice mandatory overtime. Third, provisions on right to security of tenure. Many practices of BPO companies undermine this right. In particular, we would like to ensure a provision that will disallow floating while hiring when clients pull out. And in cases where there are no available accounts for workers to be transferred, workers should be given the option to receive a severance rather than put them in floating status that often leads to forced resignation of workers. Fourth, provisions on health benefits such as mandatory health insurance upon the commencement of their employment and not upon regularization. We also would like to add provisions for mandatory regular psychological checkups and mandatory psychological support be provided to workers given the stressful work environment in the BPO industry. Fifth, provisions on working during calamities. We would like to further strengthen the right to refuse to work in times of calamities and disasters. Business should not be as usual unless there is a feasible and worker-friendly business community plan that will ensure safety workers. Six, work on holidays should be optional for BPO workers to maintain work-life balance as in other industries. Moreover, it should not be tagged as critical workday that could lead to workers' termination from work. We believe that BPO companies should and can do more than impose stringent policies on working on Philippine holidays when workers should be enjoying rest or be with their families during holidays. For example, they can do affirmative action or policies incentivizing workers to work rather than deprive workers of their holiday rest by tagging Philippine holidays as critical work days. Seventh, provision on the right to freedom of association should be guaranteed and strengthened given that the BPO industry remains non-unionized and there is limited representation of workers at various levels. Provision on greater accountability, that is higher penalties or even criminal liability of companies for their non-compliance to labor laws, which this may apply not just to BPO companies, but at least in our experience, BPO companies consider themselves as special, sometimes even above the law. They abuse management prerogative, skirt the law or simply ignore it to the detriment of workers. Provision on bio breaks, which is necessary as many workers, especially in call centers, are having trouble with limited or non-existent bio breaks. Lastly, provisions on additional services to BPO workers such as transportation service or allowance, especially for those working specific hours of the night. Mr. Chair and the honorable members of this committee, We will be submitting our position paper soon after the hearing to further detail our comments on the proposed bills. We believe that for BPO employees can contribute even more for the growth of the industry and the Philippine economy if our rights are guaranteed and protected, and we are convinced that passing a BPO Workers' Rights and Welfare Act that addresses above mentioned concerns is a step towards it. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kui, I appreciate your very lengthy speech and your inputs to promote the welfare of the BPO industry. Rest assured that this topic has been discussed for the last 5 years in the previous 2 congresses, and all we want as representatives of the people is this to be fast-tracked. So before to move on, I'd like to get the input of the DOLE regarding the House bills that are now before this committee for the BPO industry.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Yes.
The Department of Labor and Employment supports the intent of the proposed bills as they seek to protect the rights of workers in the BPO industry, reassert the prescribed labor standards set forth in the Labor Code, and institutionalize additional benefits that would address specific work-related problems and issues peculiar to the nature of work. If I may have specific comments just on the general employment standards, and our other offices will also comment on specific provisions of the proposed bills. As regards to the right to self-association, Your Honor, this is guaranteed under the 1987 15 Constitution and under Article 253 of the Labor Code as amended. However, the Bureau has difficulty in capturing data on the BPO industry, considering that the PSA put them in administrative and support services. So at present, we're unable to disaggregate data on union density because we cannot determine the denominator in computing the rate because of the situation with the PSA. On regularization, as already provided for under existing laws, the bills reiterate that employers are prohibited from engaging in labor-only contracting. It also affirms the principle of non-diminution of benefits. And for the security of tenure, the provision already proposed measures are also an affirmation of the labor code provisions. As to other matters, Your Honor, our other offices will have their comments.
The other bureaus of the DOLE, if you want to manifest your stand on these bills, please continue. Please introduce yourself again, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm Dr. Gabriel Bautista from the Occupational Safety and Health Center.
Okay, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to the honorable members of the committee and to everyone here in this committee meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you the comments of the Occupational Safety and Health Center on the proposed occupational safety and health provisions, specifically by House Bill 274. The Occupational Safety and Health Center acknowledges the intent of the bill to take appropriate steps to recognize the rights and welfare of workers in the business process outsourcing industry, while taking into account the special characteristics of the industry by improving and promoting social and economic status, living and working conditions, terms of employment, professional growth, and career development. The bill also provided that employers are prohibited from enforcing labor-only contracting and diminution of benefits, and are also required to provide occupational safety and health policies and programs for their workers. Furthermore, House Bill 274 ensures that workers are entitled to free, full medical examination upon pre-employment and annually during the course of their employment, as well as full health insurance provisions. The bill likewise provided penal provisions from fines to imprisonment to be imposed to individuals or companies found to be violating this law. However, upon review of the provisions of the House bill with regards to occupational safety and health, the House Bill 274 reiterated the provisions of Republic Act 11058, or the Act strengthening compliance with occupational safety and health standards and providing penalties for violations thereof, and its IRR, or Implementing Rules and Regulations, or the DO 198-18, the Occupational Safety and Health Standards as amended, particularly Rules 1005, 1030, and Rule 1960. And the DOLE subsequent issuances, such as the Department Circular 108, or the policy guidelines governing the occupational safety and health of workers in the call center industry, the Department Order 119-12, or the Implementing Rules and Regulations of the Republic Act 10151, and the Department Order 16-01, or the amendment to Rule 1030 of the standards, which pertains to training and accreditation of personnel and occupational safety and health. Section 2 of Republic Act 11058 specifically states that the law applies to all establishments, project sites, including Philippine Economic Zone Authority establishments and all other places where work is being undertaken in all branches of economic activity, except in the public sector. It is understood that the BPO industry is covered by this law. In effect, the establishments under this industry are required to follow its provisions and may incur penalties stipulated for failure to comply, the same as establishments in other industries. Moreover, Article 168, as renumbered, of the Labor Code of the Philippines specifically states that the Secretary of Labor and Employment shall, by appropriate orders, set and enforce mandatory occupational safety and health standards to eliminate or reduce occupational safety and health hazards in all workplaces, and institute new and update existing programs to ensure safe and healthful working conditions in all places of employment. These have strengthened the capacity of the DOLE to implement the occupational safety and health standards and increase the compliance of workplaces to implement OSH programs. To ensure the protection and welfare of workers, in the BPO industry, even before the enactment of Republic Act 11058, the DOLE in 2008 issued the Department Circular 01-08. This circular requires the employers in the BPO industry to comply with the provisions of the Occupational Safety and Health Standards and other OSH-related DOLE issuance, particularly in the creation of the Safety and Health Committee, development of policies and programs on hazards and risk prevention and control by tripartism, provision of medical services, among others. The DOLE also formulated the technical guidelines on occupational safety and health for the call center industry to assist the concerned industry in developing and implementing enterprise-level programs that will address safety and health issues related to computer use, night work, and constant speech. When the Republic Act 10151, or the act allowing the employment of night workers, thereby repealing Articles 130 and 131 of PD 442, or the Labor Code of the Philippines, was passed into law, the DOLE issued Department Order 119-12, or the rules, or the implementing rules and regulations for RA 10151. This is to ensure the protection of night shift workers. Section 19 of this bill enhances Rule 1032.07 of the DOLE Department Order 16-01 due to its consideration of night shift work as hazardous. The powers and functions of a workplace occupational health and safety officer, as proposed in Section 21 of the bill, comply to Section 14 of Republic Act 11058, Rules 1033-03 and 1047 of the Occupational Safety and Health Standards, and Rule 1034.03 of Department Order 16-01. The process of selecting the workplace occupational health and safety officer is defined in the said bill. The proposed workplace occupational health and safety officer in the bill is equivalent to the safety officer in Republic Act 11058, and Occupational Safety and Health Standards. Section 22 of the bill provided the crafting of workplace policy and occupational safety and health, which is enshrined in Section 12 of Republic Act 11058. The establishment of the health programs, promotion of health insurance, and the implementation of medical examination and treatment of BPO workers are provided for by Rules 1966 and 1967 of the Occupational Safety and Health Standards, as well as Rule 1034.03 of DO 16-01. The Occupational Safety and Health Center recognizes the peculiarities in terms of working conditions of the BPO industry, enacting a legislation that seeks to have OSH standards specific for the industry may just reiterate what is already provided by Republic Act 11058. The DO 198 and the Occupational Safety and Health Standards, as well as the existing labor laws. Moreover, industry discrimination may arise if an industry-specific legislation will be put into law, at least on the Occupational Safety and Health Standard. The Republic Act 11058, the Department Order 198, and the Occupational Safety and Health Standards are sufficient basis to implement OSH practices in all industries. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Bautista of OSHC. I'd like to recognize the members of the committee, the Honorable Ferdinand Gaite of the party list Bayan Muna, and the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago of the party list Kabataan. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Elago for her sponsorship speech of House Bill 5754.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. It is an honor for this youth representation to endorse on this bill entitled Ensuring the Welfare and Protection of BPO Workers and the Recognition of Their Rights as Provided for in the Labor Code in the Philippines. Mr. Chair, this is an assertion of prescribed labor standards set forth in the Labor Code and to institutionalize additional benefits that would hopefully address specific work-related problems and issues peculiar to the nature of BPO work. Salient proposal or salient provisions of the bill include, first, added protection to the right to security of tenure of BPO workers, prohibition of floating while hiring, and regularization of all BPO workers upon the completion of a maximum probationary training period of 6 months. Second is to standardize restroom breaks, not shorter than 15 minutes on top of regular breaks and lunches throughout the entire duration of the shift. Third is the entitlement to medical benefits upon entry in the BPO company and not merely upon regularization. And fourth is the right to self-association, to engage in collective bargaining, and to participate in the democratic exercise and decision-making, especially on company policies that affect rights at work. The BPO Workers' Welfare and Protection Bill was originally filed under the 14th Congress and refiled under the 15th, 16th, and 17th Congresses with the then KPL representatives Raymond Palatino, Teddy Tigron, respectively. It is now fully backed by members of the Progressive Kabayan Bloc in the 18th Congress. And it is our fervent hope that the 18th Congress will see through the immediate passage of this important piece of legislation. Maraming salamat po, ang Ginoong Chair.
Hello, thank you, the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago for that sponsorship speech. May we now recognize Mr. Joshua Mata.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the members of the committee. We in Centro fully support the passage of Magna Carta for BPO workers. No? We feel that this is actually long overdue. Ang problema po kasi, the BPO industry, as you probably all know, has created this illusion na para bang napaka-glamorous na magtrabaho sa mga BPOs. When in fact, in many cases, yung mga manggagawa natin na pinag-aral natin ng 4 na taon, They actually end up as being glamorized telephone operators naman. No? And ang mas malala, medyo mabigat ang treatment sa kanila. So, sa tingin ko po, yung various bills na nakalatag ay nagbibigay naman ng maayos na mga panukala tungkol sa paano natin poprotektahan ang karapatan at kagalingan ng mga manggagawa sa BPO. Subalit, hayaan niyo pong point out ko ang dalawang areas na sa tingin ko kailangan pa kong idagdag. Yung una po, wala po ako napansin doon sa mga bills na provision tungkol dun po sa protection ng mga BPO workers pag tinetrade pa lang sila. Kasi kadalasan po pag under trading, ang lilit po na allowances yan, minsan 150 pesos per day, if you can just imagine, Mr. Chair, no? So baka maganda pong idagdag din natin yun kasi naabuso na rin sila kagad, no? Doon pa lang sa period na yan. Pero yung gusto ko pong malaki pong issue na gusto kong ilatag sa inyo, baka nga po maganda na pag-isipan ng maayos ay ito pong kadalasan nangyayari ngayon sa mga maliliit, sa mga medium scale at saka small size na mga BPOs na pag nawala ng kliyente, ura-urada magsa-shutdown. Tapos tatakasan na po yung mga manggagawa. No? Yung kukwento ko, yung karanasan po namin nanggagaling sa ilang taong pagkilos namin para protektahan at tulungan yung mga manggagawa ng BPO workers, particular sa Region 7, specifically in Cebu. For example, in the past few years, no, at least since 2018 man lang, no, even 2015, ang daming mahigit 1,000 ng manggagawa ang natanggal ang pagbalik nila sa kumpanya nila kinabukasan, wala na yung kumpanya, sarado na, tapos hindi na sila nabayaran. Marami sa kanila ay nag-file po ng cases sa NLRC. Subalit kahit na manalo sila, hindi pa sila nananalo, no? Pero may isang case na nanalo po sila, wala na silang pwedeng habulin kasi tumakbo na yung may-ari. No? Halimbawa, yan po yung case ng yan ang mga cases na binabanggit ko, pwede kong banggitin dito yung direct access, no, na BPO, Cordia. Direct access, Indian po yung nationality ng may-ari, no? Cordia ay taga-USA. Ganon din yung Lidamorphosis, yung Blue Connect, yung Ezi Connect. Lahat po ito mga US-based, ang mga may-ari ay mga US-based na mga negosyante. Subalit nung walang kaabog-abog, bigla na lang sila magsasara at iiwanan nila yung kanilang mga manggagawa nang walang separation pay, unpaid salaries, at iba pang mga benepisyo na tinakbuhan nila. Last year, noong 2019, 2 kumpanya ang nangyaring ganyan sa Cebu din, no? Yung Wipro at saka Teletech. Both of them, one of them is Wipro, I think is an Indian-based na company, no? Yung isa naman ay US din, no? Ito po yung problema. Kahit magsampa sila ng kaso, hindi na nga nahulang mahabol. Kaya ang proposal namin as way back in 2018, pinropose na po namin sa Department of Labor ito, particularly sa regional office ninyo. Subalit mukhang hindi nakarating sa national leadership ng DOLE. Nagpo-propose kami na dapat yung mga kumpanya ay merong bond na pagka tumakbo sila, pwedeng i-access kagad ng mga manggagawa yun para mabayaran yun sila doon sa kanilang mga unpaid benefits and salaries. No? At itong bond na to ay dapat bahagi ng requirement sa pagtatatag ng isang BPO company. Yun po yung sa tingin na, yun po yung wala sa lahat ng mga versions na ito. Kaya maaaring gusto namin sanang hikayatin ng ating mga kongresista, bigyan niyo po ng pansin ito dahil napakalaking issue po ito. At isa pong particular na practical din po na request namin, baka maganda po mag-conduct po kayo ng hearing sa Cebu. Kasi ang dami po doon talaga na directly pwede nyo kausapin na sila magsasabi ng karanasan nila, paano po talaga sila na-appeal, no, ng mga BPO companies. No? So, having said that, Mr. Chair, we actually submitted a position paper on the matter, particularly yung proposal namin dun sa bond na sinabit na rin namin sa Department of Labor, pero parang hindi ata kami napakinggan na gusto. So, we already emailed it to the committee, Mr. Chair, and we hope that the committee would give due consideration to these proposals. So again, thank you very much, and we're very willing to support the technical working group if you need yung pagkasan.
Thank you, Sir Joshua Mata, for your highly valued inputs. However, as I am and together with the congressman here, really want to help the BPO industry This has already been tackled for the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago said 13 Congress. So that is already 5 Congresses. So the best way for this to move forward to make everybody happy, and I think that these 5 bills and my bill, the 274, it's already been approved in the previous Congress, 17th Congress, through my sister, the sponsor, one of the sponsors. I would ask if our colleagues here have a way of proposing that this move forward.
Mr. Chairman, minumukaya po ng representasyon nito na i-consolidate po yung 5 bill.
Is there a second to the motion? Thank you, the honorable members of this committee, the Honorable Yul Servo, the Honorable Ferdinand Gaite, and the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago. Since there is a motion to consolidate the 5 bills, namely House Bill 274 as the lead bill, surviving bill, House Bill 4236, House Bill 5590, and House Bill 5754. We will consolidate all bills to 274 subject to style, and this being approved on committee level, and the Secretariat is directed to issue a committee report to the Committee on Rules for its proper disposition. I'd like to take, I approve this. So before we end, I'd like to thank everybody for your time, and we already tackled 3 main issues: the freelance bill of Honorable Mr. Congressman Salceda, and the kasambahay bill of amendments to it by Honorable Atienza, and lastly, this bill that will now progress a major hurdle, because here in the Congress, time is always valued commodity, so we have to take note of that, so not to waste time on the 18th Congress. I hope you understand. But there will be provision, time to amend it in the second reading. So, before the journey, I'd like to hear and recognize the Honorable Sarah Jane Elago.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a short manifestation. I hope that the Committee on Labor and Employment will strongly consider the suggestion, the recommendation of our resource speaker to conduct a hearing in Cebu, not only for this bill, but for the abuses, for all the reported abuses in the BPO industry to be addressed by the representatives of the House, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Elago, I will forward your suggestion to the chairman, Eric Pineda, for his proper disposition on the matter. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Good afternoon po. Adjourn.